Now, the introduction to Merc Versus as a artist starts, I would say, when it comes to hip hop, around 1984. My father got me a record, vinyl record called Electric Breakdance, and there were songs by Melly Mel, Run DMC, Houdini, various other artists, and I was familiar with hip hop before then. I was not back then privy to the history of hip hop. I just knew what had passed through the pipeline and reached me in Indiana by way of the corporate industry, which had mass produced this record because they thought it was a fad. So, what started as what was expected to be a fad ended up taking over the music world globally, and now hip hop is like the main genre of music. Well, rap in particular. Hip hop is the artistic expressions, visual art, being graffiti, verbal art being emceeing, the poetry of rhyming as a rapper, and the dance art, which is b-boying or breaking, and then the musical art of DJing or turntablism. So I wasn't privy to all of that at this point in time. I just knew I liked what I was hearing, and it was catchy to me, and it grabbed me, and I tried to emulate that. And I also tried to scratch with records and try to learn. So I knew a little bit about where hip hop was going. I saw DJs on TV. Run DMC was very influential in those early years, as far as something that caught my eye and kind of a lot of other people's eyes too, because they were major stars in the world. So this is nothing special. This is just something that I latched onto. But as the years went by, and I became more educated in the landscape of hip hop, I started listening to more conscious artists as well as gangster artists. I was absorbing information from both the East and the West, but I tend to gravitate, still to this day, and back then, gravitated more towards the East because it was the Mecca and the foundation from, as I learned, that's where it came from. So just like anyone that claims uh, a religious faith, you make your pilgrimage to the main source of that religion. If you're a Christian, you might want to go to Jerusalem or Rome. If you're a Jew, you might want to go to Jerusalem. You might want you might want to make your pilgrimage to Mecca if you're a Muslim. So, and also, just like with gangs, might not be a good comparison because that culture kind of enveloped the hip hop culture. I'll talk about that in the near future, but you kind of have a yearning or a respect for and yearning to see or experience the culture in its purest form. So therefore, I would gravitate, respect, admire uh, artists that came from the East. Not to say that the West wasn't also very influential. Ice Cube at one point in time was one of my favorite artists. Now, as many might recall, he actually went to the Bomb Squad, Public Enemy's producers, when he broke away from NWA to release his first solo album, America's Most Wanted. So I wasn't the only one that had a lot of respect for the East and knew that the music coming from that area was special. And the Midwest, of course, we have our own history, and we fall in the middle. So some people are influenced. We're influenced by a lot of different locations, and we also influence a lot of different locations. So me as a person, I've never been one to adhere to the regional sound theory as much as others may, because I know that out west you can find MCs that sound East Coast. The Alcoholics, for example, when they came out, they didn't have the G-Funk sound that was hot at the time. In the Midwest, you have artists, the traditional Midwest sound. A lot of people think it comes that it's Bone Thugs and Harmony or Twista or something like that with the rapid fire delivery. That may be true, but there's also Chicago MCs such as Vakil that are highly influenced by the East Coast, by scratching and samples and wordplay and metaphors and punchlines. And it's just a mixed bag, and it's all about what not to say one is better than the other. My particular style that I gravitated towards was one more of a narrative style, storytelling and poetry, not so much as the tough talk and posturing, even though that comes along with it. And then one point in time, I was, I listened to everything from South Central Cartel to MC8, rap a lot. I was heavy into rap a lot, Ghetto Boys, all of that. Absorbed all of that as an MC. But there comes a time when you got to be yourself and you have to express yourself according to your inspirations and your influences and also your personal experience. So therefore, as you grow, you learn that what you say is influenced by the information that you digest. So I'm not really a person that believes that artists aren't role models, because I think that they are influential role models in the fact that especially a young mind is very open to digesting information from a lot of different angles, and so many stories have been told in hip hop music that right now all you have to do is jump into the matrix and you can tell the illest or the most realistic gangster tale that you would want to, because all the information's already laid out for you. So it's not, at one point it was like Chuck D of Public Enemy once said, it was like CNN for black people. Basically, it told the hood stories and the reality that they were facing day to day: police brutality, drugs, all the conflict that goes on with gangs and territorial conflicts and unemployment and teen pregnancy and all these different issues. But as time went by, all these stories have been told so many times that there's a volume of information out there. And right now, the youth and people in general have access to that information at the swipe of their smartphone screen. So therefore, you don't have to live the life in order to have a detailed expression that might seem like a realistic interpretation of a street lifestyle, and that's often not the case. More often than not, that's not the case. So, tough guy posturing has always been a part of hip hop, but that comes with confidence. The confidence of being an MC, not necessarily acting like you're the illest killer. There are real killers out there. Not a lot of them are rappers, but just in my personal experience. But one thing that I will say about hip hop, uh, it is a powerful form of artistic expression. Whatever you put into it, you get out of it. If you come from a country influence, you can turn a country song into a hip hop song, not just by rapping on it. There's a whole lifestyle that comes along with it, from being an entrepreneur to being the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you approach things. Uh, it's just, that's my background, is the hip hop culture. So this is a story about Merc Versus the MC and all of my travels in the last 10 years, and the people I've met, the places I've seen, the times I've been snake bit, the times I've cut heads off of snakes. It's all going to get covered. So I'm going to go into detail, and hopefully everyone will learn from this experience. And I myself expect to also learn about myself and others during the course of this blog series. Peace.